Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Final Fantasy X. We are here with a newly acquired weapon from Nemesis. We got this weapon from Nemesis, but we've equipped it with magic plus 20%, magic booster, and 1 MP cost. And this is for our next Dark Aeon battle with the Dark Magus Sisters. So if you approach the Jose Road or Mushroom Rock Road from the Meehan High Road, you're then chased by these two Yevon summoners, and then the third comes there. Now what you're supposed to do is kind of run to the left, and you can kind of have a potential chase game where you can then split the sisters up and you don't have to fight them all three at the one time. But with this strategy with Kimahri, you don't need that. Now, again, I arrive in with not the perfect armor for Kimahri. This was really my first time going, and I was like, I just want to see how this works. But I ended up winning the first time, so I left it in. I suppose just to show that, like, even with max stats, your armors really are the make or break of these situations. Like, and you see, with a specific boost of magic plus 20%, you will be getting nearly max damage on both the Bumblebee and the Ladybug. And realistically, the damage, like, across the board, since you're doing double cast as well, you're getting more than a single quick hit of damage in overall. And then just to kind of show the difference, like, without the magic plus 20, without the magic booster, this is the kind of damage range that you're looking at. Now, in terms of Cindy, the Ladybug, she has the least amount of magic defense, so even without magic booster, you're still getting like 85,000, you're just getting, or 76,000 depending on the range. And with Sandy, the Cricket, she has the highest magic defense, so even with magic booster, you're still only doing kind of half the damage to her. But again, what I should have had was Roxas and Waka with full overdrives, and then at least in that scenario, once we started whittling down with a lot more of Kimahri's ultimas, we could have basically gone and done an attack reels with Waka, and then substituted Yuna in for a grand summon of her own. And, you know, who knows, we might have gotten this done deathless. But the main thing for this scenario when you're fighting all three at once, and this is kind of where, if you're fighting them one at a time, the need for this Ultima strategy becomes less and less, because obviously you're getting less DPS overall because there's less targets to hit, and so just hitting them once with a quick hit, you know, is probably better. But we're now going to grand summon our own Magus Sisters, and we're going to use their overdrive before they can use, as in, we're going to use our overdrive before the enemy Magus Sisters can use theirs. Now the trick is, the Magus Sisters are that powerful that when they go to use their overdrive, any other normal Aeon will more than likely KO, and then the final, each of the others get a turn, and then the overdrive procs. So your Magus Sisters are one of the only ones, since there's 3 different Aeons, they're the only ones that can survive long enough to survive the entire different onslaught of attacks, followed by a delta attack. The good news is, once they use their overdrive, if you kill one of the 3 before they all get their overdrives all at the same time, then they won't trigger their delta attack ever again. So it's just about surviving this initial one. And again, if I had the time and energy, I probably could have made 3 of Kimahri's weapons. That being a break damage limit, magic booster, magic plus 20%, and with all 3 of the characters doing double casting ultimate shenanigans at that level of power. And then, using their physical overdrives as well. I think you're able to beat the Magus Sisters before they can, or the Mindy. I think you can beat Mindy, the Bumblebee, because she's the lowest HP. And if you manage to take one of them out, they just can't use Delta Attack. They just use a different overdrive for that time. But now we have the problem where, again, we don't have the best of armors. So here we have Yuna with no haste and no ribbon, and Kimahri with applied haste, but again, no ribbon. And that is going to unfortunately be our undoing a bit later on in this battle. Ribbon is just quite important, and we should have had it really. But again, this was kind of I just want to see how it works. How does it happen? Is it a viable strategy? Like, I might come back if I get a game over and change things up. But I didn't need to do that. And now at this stage, you can see that Mindy is, hunched over, just kind of like looking down. So that's to kind of show that she's obviously nearing her last legs in terms of HP. So you want to try and focus her down as much as possible. And, if that's using Titus as like a blitz ace to specifically target her and to do physical attack damage, the more the merrier in that regard. But again, I didn't have all my characters with max overdrive, which was, again, my just hubris, I suppose. Not literally just turning on the Victor overdrive for like 2 seconds, fighting 2 simple fights in the Neon High Road, having everybody on max overdrive, for these late game bosses should just be the norm. But again, I just was like, I'll just hit record, see what it looks like, maybe watch it back over, get different tips. But it ended up being a pretty entertaining battle, so this is the one that we're doing. But again, just using Aeons as kind of shields at a certain point to kind of minimize the amount of attacks that are going straight through to your party. So the problem with Camisade is that it attacks your MP, which is then really, really frustrating for your casters like Kimahri, who'll obviously need, while not needing loads of MP, I don't have no MP cost. So that's a bit of a bummer. But again, just keeping up the ultimas, because you're at least doing max damage to 2 of the 3 Aeons there, and you're basically getting 2 attacks a turn, so DPS wise, it's not too bad. And with that, we have no more fear of Delta attack. Oh no, Cindy is the Bumblebee, I think. But anyway, they're gone. No need to worry. And now really should have been the time that I just swapped in Roxas and Riku and just at least had our 3 ribbon holders, and just had the 3 ribbon holders there, and then just attack away with quick hits, because at this point in the game, there's no advantage to using Ultima. Like, they don't have the scary threat of their overdrives to contend with, and most of their Mega Gravitons and other overdrives are the only thing that makes them scary is their status effects, which obviously if I had Roxas and Riku out, there would be nothing to stress about, because we have ribbon at this stage. But I think I was just saying, can I basically just Ultima them to death? Like, is there even any need to use quick hits, to use other bits and pieces? I just was basically just on a roll. I was taking it as a personal challenge at this point. But the tricky thing is, if you're specifically multi-targeting them with ultimate spells, like if you were singly attacking them, their overdrives would be developing at significantly different rates, and therefore you wouldn't be getting kind of 2 overdrives relatively quickly, one after the other, which isn't a good vibe. But, I mean, we let Lulu in. She is a Celestial weapon that has magic booster. And just to show that even without the 20% magic boost, you're still, doing max damage to Cindy, the ladybug. So at the very least, there's that. Once again, we have a situation now where I was like, oh dear, no auto haste, no ribbon. And that really was where, I was kind of sitting there being like, okay, well, maybe I wipe. But a quick Mega Phoenix and basically all the party are back up. So, a quick little recovery there. Don't be afraid to use that. And then now that they don't have an overdrive for Delta attack, they just use the attack Mega Graviton, which does tons of status effects and what have you. So, thanks to Ribbon, Riku's still standing. I can just use a Mega Elixir and a status healing item, and that'll create the Super Elixir Overdrive, which will fully recover everything and remove almost all status effects on the party. Doom just needs to be dispelled, is the only thing. But again, here should have been the situation where I just swap in Waka and Tidus, and if they again could be entrusted with an overdrive or what have you, the fight probably would have ended a lot quicker. But I just was kind of like, we've Uni here, she can use Aeons as shields. It's not too bad, I suppose. But these are like one of the more scarier Aeon fights. And like the chase scene, like if you do try and like separate them out so you can fight them individually, you can fight them either just two. You can obviously fight them as three in the scenario we're doing here. But you can fight them two at a time if you don't make it all the way to the end of the race. And then one at a time if you manage to basically run all the way to the elevator back at Operation Mihen. But again, yeah, if we just had Waka and Tidus, they would have all had full overdrives and could just take advantage of blitz aces and attack reels, or just entrusting attack reels. And this battle would definitely have been over a lot quicker, and it would have been a lot less dangerous because, if they're attacking, they don't need MP, and that sort of stuff, and they have their physical overdrives. Like what I could have done, and probably realistically should have done, is tried to show off Kimari's Nova Overdrive, which is basically Ultima, but like more powerful. So missed opportunity there. Like I suppose the power of hindsight when you're sitting back editing and you realise, oh, that probably would have been cool as well. Because I believe the damage modifier would probably just make it one powerful attack that would have like done single quad nines done max damage to the two there, just because Nova I think has a higher damage range. And you'll even see that unit without Lulu's magic booster is doing just under max damage to the ladybug there. So you really do need magic booster to get the somewhat most out of this scenario, and obviously having the 20% extra boost to magic obviously just ups your DPS overall, And here is where I started getting really cocky, because I was like, oh, I forgot that like the basic attack of Sandy, there was an immunity proc there. The game showed, oh, she's immune, Riku's immune with Ribbon, so whatever horrible effect that was trying to do there, that was avoided because of Ribbon. And yeah, so just being foolhardy here. I was like, oh, we'll just keep Kimari alive if he gets dropped by something, and then almost to be like, oh, you thought basic attack from Sandy, petrification, and destruction of the petrification. So we're now down to 2. And with Camisad, we're now down to 1. So I literally at this point thought, oh, well that's it. We're game over now. And even at this point, I don't decide, okay, I should just swap in Waka because he will have, Ribbon, or I will swap in Tidus because he will also have Ribbon. I just was obstinate at this point. I was like, no. Yuna is going to just see this fight through to the bitter end. And again, I probably could have just made sure she had Ribbon, grinded up more dark matters. Again, this was kind of just I wanted to see how it works, and then it was working really well. So I was like, oh, well, now I just wanted to try and see how far this goes. And once again, another Aeon shielding us from certain defeat, getting a good bit of damage off there with an Overdrive. And at this point I was like, just attack. Just, at this point we're at the stage now, let's just try and survive the Mega Graviton. And then with that last attack we ended up dropping Sandy, which was great. And now it was just a case of, okay, we just keep Asuna-ing. This Aeon can only either single attack or Camisad. And with that and a mug, Yuna ends up overkilling and we win the fight. And we get some Dark Matters, we get some Master Spheres, and we get a Holy Ring that is pretty awesome for Yuna. And then jumping straight over to the Mount Gagazed, we have the Zanarkand Trials, where we had to throw the Blitzball. And it says, if you wish to face me, you must first face my trial. And this is basically to unlock Dark Anima. She is literally a hidden Aeon. And once you go back and redo the trial, Dark Anima appears on Gagazet. Now, for every other Aeon, bar Dark Bahamut, we have seen the Summoners of Yevon summoning these Aeons. And I kind of want to discuss just in this little bit my speculation on why this particular, Dark Aeons happen. Aside from the fact that it's a bit like Belgamine, how did she summon Anima? Well, you'll just assume, well, she's an unsent. She just, teleported around to the different fates and, got Anima and, after the fact, just to train Yuna that little bit more. But, other than Maester Seymour in lore and Yuna because she went to Baj Temple and, Belgamine because, hypothetically, she's a ghost, an unsent. So, you could imagine she maybe just, went there, recruited this Aeon in an attempt to better train Yuna. You can kind of see that. But then there comes the question of, well, here's Dark Anima. Who and what summoned her? Why is she here? And the logistics of game logic is that, well, you have all these different Aeons. You just fight all these different Aeons to unlock a really cool final boss. But I came up with a theory that maybe it's the remnants of Lady Yunalesca, because the original Trials of the Mountain were tests done by Lady Yunalesca to test the summoners journeying through Gagazet to see if they were worthy to reach Zanarkand and by extension reach her and get the final Aeon. We've seen in flashbacks that Maester Seymour's mother journeyed with Seymour, completed his pilgrimage to Zanarkand, and his mother was made the Faith of Anima. His mother was made the Faith of Seymour's final summoning. And obviously the theory then being, typically what happens is the summoner summons the final Aeon, there's a difficult fight, but then when Yu Yevon possesses this new Aeon, the Aeon then turns and insta-kills their summoner, is the vibe. But that means that Lady Yunalesca has knowledge or, the ability to create these faith. And that's why I think it was Lady Unalesca, kind of maybe the remnants of her power, was to then summon Dark Bahamut and summon Dark Anima, kind of in the two places closest to her proximity of power, Mount Gagazet and Zanarkand itself. And that's where those two Dark Aeons are kind of summoned as a kind of remnant of anger and wanting of revenge for Lady Unalesca. Maybe. Like, I'm not sure, but that seems to be what made sense in my mind. But as for the battle itself, it is quite simple. You are just going to entrust overdrives to Waka and quick hit everything else. And then once you see Oblivion, the bottom line is you're going to have to summon an Aeon to shield yourself. Now, you may have noticed, Yuna now has Ribbon. Yuna got from the Magus Sister boss fight a 4-slot armor with break HP limit and Ribbon. So that was super duper cool. And we are super chuffed about that. So now Yuna can basically stay in the fight as normal, because she has Ribbons, so she's not going to be affected by Mega Graviton, which is not going to be that much of a hindrance. She also has max stats, but as well as that, she then can summon an Aeon shield to kind of protect the party from when Anima is going to do her ultimate attack. And yeah, with this, with our max luck evasion, our max luck and accuracy, like, this fight is literally just a test of patience. There's nothing really that crazy to be done. It's just attack away, keep everyone's HP topped up, and since you all have Ribbon, there's literally nothing it can do. It'll either do Mega Graviton or Oblivion. And that's kind of the long and the short of it. So realistically, in Trust to Waka, he won't be doing that high of a damage because Anima has good resistances to overdrives, basically. But like, if you're ever just nervous, popping some auto life on people is one way to go. If you want to try and like just keep attacking and then not be too worried if Mega Graviton's going to actually like KO you. But as I say, with you now, just keeping everybody healed up so they're able to do their max damage with their celestial weapons. And here is the one fault of Ribbon: it doesn't protect against curse and death, so your immunity is somewhat limited. And like with the Magus Sisters, when we know that it's going to use an overdrive, we're going to summon Anima to use its overdrive against Anima. And once again, like, we know even from Walker, who has like max strength, and his overdrive isn't doing max damage. This probably isn't going to do max damage either, but it's still better than just doing one basic attack and dropping, you know? It's also weird that Anima is like truncated. Like, in this scene we can see the kind of full length of our Anima, but the enemy Anima is like horrifyingly like just cut off at the middle. But in the exact same way, our Anima now is going to have to be subjected to being horribly cut in half as well. But likewise, you get something like 20 hits at like 5,000 a pop. Like, it's insane damage, the amount of damage that Anima can dish out, unfortunately. But once again, once you kind of survive an overdrive, you have a couple of rounds now just to do quick hits, just to stay stabilized. And it's just about a war of attrition more so than being incredibly complicated. Just keeping everybody topped up with their HP. And then, you know, they have Auto Life on. Probably would have been better just to actually just let Aura Phoenix work. But, as I say, with max luck, max accuracy, you're going to be hitting and critting the entire time. And now, with that, Riku's been cursed, so that's kind of a pain. But at this point I realised, oh well, if Riku's cursed, I could dispel, or I could just fire over the Overdrive bar so Waka can do another attack wheels. But other than that, this is kind of nearly all. Like, this is the kind of the two harder of the Dark Aeons. Next episode, we're going to be looking into Yojimbo, who, now that we have a good few break HP limit armors, his difficulty dramatically drops. His scariest move is his Washiki move that does damage to the entire party, and it does more than quad 9 damage. But now that we all have next episode, I finally complete the sphere grid. I basically grind up against Ironclad, the kind of giant armor swordsman enemy, and I get, I'd say, about 70 HP spheres and just bang them all into the sphere grid, move everybody around, fight Kotos a bajillion times, and get strength spheres and just move everybody around with the Don Tombury AP trick. Like, it maybe was 3 hours of solid just menuing, but next episode you will see we complete the sphere grid. Every single character has gone completely around the sphere grid and activated everything on the entire sphere grid, every ability, every luck sphere, to get every single stat sphere, to get 255 in every stat, as well as roughly 70,000 HP and 39 MP. So yeah, like that was like the juggernaut of the achievement list. So I'll definitely have like a little something to say in like a recap episode. But basically next episode is completing that and then doing 5 battles with Yojimbo. But realistically, once you break HP limit and ribbon armor, like it's not a thing. It's not a vibe. Like, you just have your characters do overdrives. Like, I'll put the 5 in, but I might just have like the one beginning battle, maybe 2 battles, and then I'll just cut to the last hit of the other 3, because he doesn't change in HP or stats or what he potentially can do. Each consecutive battle just means he charges his overdrive and therefore his Zanmato move slightly quicker. But again, since we have well over 70,000 HP that he can't, kill us with consecutive, AoE hits, like, we're fine. So it becomes pretty redundant. But I'll show those fights anyway, because once we beat Yojimbo, that's all of the Dark Aeons defeated, and then we unlock Penance. And Penance, oh boy, I went into Penance not like thinking, oh, I have max stats, I break HP limit, I have all these different things. this is going to be a cakewalk. It really, really wasn't. It wasn't at all. So I had to do a bit of research, but we will definitely have a really cool fight with Penance to kind of close out the run. And then once Penance is done, that's everything in the post game, or everything in the Super Boss era done. And then once that's done, we then just move on to finishing the story, fighting Jecht, and just defeating Sin and saving Spira. So with that in mind, we're very, very close to the end. And it's been like such an amazing journey. And just even for me personally, the actual sitting down and finally finishing out the sphere grid and thinking I never have to open the sphere grid again. It was such a momentous achievement for me. So I look forward to showing that to you guys next episode. But with another Aeon used up, you might be thinking, oh, well, if you run out of Aeons and you get to Oblivion, is it just game over? And yes, it would be. But we overkill her with plenty of Oblivion buffering Aeons to spare. And that's another Dark Aeon vanquished. And again, guys, I'll see you next episode for our final Dark Aeon combat with Yojimbo. Thanks, guys.